G'day legends, the Sunken Dutchman here. Today we got something a bit different, doing a bit of a solo dive. Gonna head out to the islands, take the boat out and see if we can get some kingies. A friend of mine got onto some a couple of days ago, so I'm hoping that they're still around, and I'm hoping that I'm lucky enough that they'll swim past me when I'm in the water. So we'll see you out there on the water. Fingers crossed we got some action for you. And yeah, we'll see you out there. Cheers. Straight away when I jumped in, I noticed there were quite a few good schools of snook floating about. Now, although I was targeting kingies, I had a few people coming for dinner, and I was more than happy to take a few snook and any other reefies that sort of floated my way. So, as you saw, one presented, and I just took the opportunity. Now, this was a good size. When I got my hand around it, it was like grabbing your calf. It was a good size snook. And as always, just to preserve the eating quality, I bleed and brain and gut it as soon as possible. As I mentioned, I was primarily out there to try and land myself a kingfish. My mates had gone out a few days before and were lucky enough to land one, so I was pretty keen to get myself one for the dinner table. Now, when I'm hunting kingies, if I can have a flasher in the water, I will. It's just something that attracts them, and if they do come in on you, it sort of holds them in that spot for a few more seconds than what would normally be if they were just sort of doing a drive-by and swimming past. Other things I sort of do to attract them is I grunt underwater. You may have heard it in some of the clips when I'm down on the bottom. I sort of do a guttural grunt, and that can attract kingies in if they're sort of within earshot of that grunt. And other things like any other fish, if you've got burley in the water, a bit of a burley trail helps as well. It just maximises your chances of trying to land one. Something that I did on this day, I actually clipped the snook off to the flasher, as you just saw. I thought it may just be something that could attract them in a little bit more. This spot was pretty fishy. The current was sort of hitting it at the right angle, and there was plenty of bait fish in the water. another reefie's floating about. And as you can see on this dive, I managed to land a nice size sweep to add to the bucket with the snook. As I do with all my fish that I shoot, as soon as I get my hands on them, best thing to do is brain and bleed. Just preserves the eating quality. Like with the snook, I decided that I was going to clip this sweep off to the flasher, again just to sort of try and entice a kingy that's swimming past to stick around long enough for me to have a shot. Now this was probably to my detriment, because not long after I'd attached that sweep to the flasher, I had a big bull seal come in and rip the fish from the line. I wasn't very happy about it, and I did try, I suppose stupidly, to get the fish back or what I could of it, but this seal, this big bull, was about 120 kilos. They got big teeth. They're basically like giant dogs just in the water. So I wasn't going to try and wrestle with it. Coupled with the fact that I was by myself, I sort of chalked it up and thought, nah, I'm moving spots. So once I saw the cubs come in, yeah, that was it for me. After the seals had taken the fish, I switched up the spots. First, I went to a pinnacle that comes up from about 30 metres to just below the surface at about 6 metres, but the current was absolutely ripping. And again, being by myself, it wasn't the sort of safest spot to dive. So after doing a couple of drops there, I shifted spots again. I moved to another spot that I know that I've shot kingies in the past, and I got there again, rolled the flasher out, did everything that I could, grunting, the whole shebang, but it just wasn't fishy. There was a little bit less life floating about, and yeah, it just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like I was gonna have any pelagic swim past. After diving probably 3 different spots, I decided enough time had gone past for me to probably try and hit up that first spot that I dove. Out of all the spots that I'd hit up this day, that was probably the fishiest. It just felt right, and again, it's where my mate had shot that kingy, only a couple of days prior. I thought enough time had passed that the seals wouldn't give me grief if I returned. Oh, how wrong I was. As soon as I got in the water, that big bull seal was back. I thought I'll just give it a crack and try and work the flasher in, I suppose, the last desperate hope. But this bull just didn't leave me alone. He dove on the flasher time and time again and made it basically impossible to land any fish, to the point where he ended up scratching his whiskers on the tip of my spear gun. And that was enough for me to call it a day, cut my losses, and head home. So until the next adventure, guys, enjoy, get out there, get wet, and I'll see you guys soon.